MTV. It's a pleasure to have Brian Johnson and Angus Young from ACDC here. Hard men to trap, you see.
True, yeah.
First off, it's really been a while since you guys have put out an album. What have you been doing in this interim period?
Swimming, surfing, bit of tennis.
I mean, when you're not, obviously, during this time, and an awful lot of music coming out of Australia, and I imagine you can correct me if I'm wrong, I imagine you've been putting an awful lot of time at home, since when you're on the road, you're out there so long.
We never really stop, even if we're not on the road. We're always doing something, writing songs and going in studios, putting tracks down.
And Brian, did you move to Australia when you joined the band?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they wouldn't let him in.
I tried real hard.
Because the question I was going to
They
ask...
only let convicts in.
The question I was going to ask is, because the Australian music scene, as far as we're seeing it in America, is so strong right now. Yeah. And during this interim period, I was wondering if you get out to see other bands as they're coming up.
You get to see maybe little people, but it's mainly when you're on the road you might bump into somebody here or there. You know?
Yeah. But back home?
Yeah, somebody might have spilled a drink on somewhere and wanted to get your back, you know.
And the new album is called Flick of the Switch. And who produced it this time around?
We did. Can't you tell?
Now, after years of having a producer to kind of work with all this time, especially Mutt Lange, I think you've worked on the last 3 albums prior to this one, right? Did you find it difficult to self-discipline yourselves going into the studio?
He's got none.
It was, I think it was a little bit harder, but I mean, I think once we adjusted, you know, because like, see if I was doing some vocals, Malcolm and Angus would be there trying different things, you know, and at the end, I think the band just got what they wanted, was a straight rock and roll album, which is exactly what they went into this to do. But just a little adjustment, really, wasn't it? It's just like an extra pair of ears that aren't there, or another
we done it in
voice.
the Bahamas, so we needed more oil. You know.
Is that where you mixed it as well?
We did. We done, well, biggest percent of it, yeah.
Why the Bahamas? I think that's interesting to the layperson who doesn't know about studios.
Great pool, great beach.
Yeah, but you've got great beaches in Australia.
True, but they're always shutting them whenever I come around.
Too many bloody sharks there.
But it's good sound, you know, and that's mainly why we go there. We do actually work, you know, when we go there. Not like certain species, you know, that get there and sort of lie around the beach, Johnson and other people like that. We go in there and we just work. It's good sound in there. It's a great live room for us, for that sound.
Do you also find it being, even though I'm sure it's beautiful, but being in a place that's in a way kind of in a remote area is better to keep the band together and a little disciplined?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, at least, you know, if he's lost somewhere, you know, you've only got 10 or 15 miles to cover, you know? I mean, when you come here, you know, he's the band in Texas and he's in L.A., you know? I mean, he goes for long walks.
I don't have a drink problem. I just get a drink.
A direction
I get
problem.
drunk. I fall down, and it's no problem at all.
You end up in San Francisco, you know? Okay. You guys are on the road right now. How's the tour going so far compared to other
It's been
tours?
great. It's been a lot of fun, you know? I actually get to see people now, you know? You start to learn. Every time you come here, you know, you start to learn. I know how to get tea out of them now, you know? Things like this.
All told, how many, let's say, numbers, as far as numbers is concerned, how many times have you toured the United States? This will mark the what?
Well, we've been coming here since 77, on and off. Geez, you stumped me there. I'd say we've, roughly in that time, 5 or 6 times, in heavy touring though. You know, a lot of times we came in, done a good 6 months, you know, when we first started. You know, and then we'd go away and then come back a couple of months later. We like your country.
We like your band.
I hope so.
Well, I think you've seen that. You grow each time. Is that strange as well?
Not really, not physically.
Is that strange as well, like when you're touring them, because you start out, you're playing, opening for other bands, playing small clubs, then all these, you know, is it, hopefully it's progressed as it has for you,
Yeah, well,
where now you're playing arena-size halls. Do you feel you have to project more when you're playing in an arena than you would, like, say, if you were playing in the old days in a club?
No, we've always had that approach of, you know, you're here, it doesn't matter what you're there. You know, you go in, there's To me, it's just the same. You know, a lot of people say it's not, but I for one, to me, it's always the same.
But that's true. I asked
I
you,
mean, we're
I
pretty
shouldn't have
small.
asked you, Angus, because you've always put out that kind of energy, I'm sure, regardless. But I don't know with Brian if it's true, especially as the vocalist. And you do have to shout a bit. Now, when you're playing in a small club, as opposed to, like, say, playing a Madison Square Garden type of hall, do you, in a way, in your gestures, do you have to be a little grander?
I don't know, if you're singing rock and roll, even in a small club, I still think you should give it as much as you do
He's
in a
lying
big hall.
again. He's saying he's singing. I haven't heard him sing yet. He's been bragging about this ever since I met him. He's been saying, I sing.
I've done a good cover-up job for the last 3.5 years.
If he gets in a club and sings, I mean, that's when you really find out.
Right, as well.
Listen, we heard, while you were touring, we heard about a strange incident that occurred in Seattle, Washington, while you were singing a song, which I really think is a great song, This House is on Fire. What happened up there?
Ah, the Tacoma Dome, yeah. This guy somehow procured a military flare from somewhere, I don't know. But he set it off as we started singing the song. It stuck in the ceiling and it started a fire up in the ceiling. Oh,
and everyone thought it was that, what's his name, Christopher Reeve's Superman.
We couldn't believe it, you know.
And I thought it was only like 3 days into the tour, and I thought it was geez, that effects guy is something else. You know, look at this.
It was really strange. It was.
Everyone thought it was an effects.
Yeah, so the audience thought it was us,
yeah.
Until they saw all the firemen scrambling.
Did you have to stop the song?
No. Well, I mean, we can't stop, you know. We keep going. We're a bit like the Titanic.
They had a good band.
What are some of the other bizarre experiences you've had during your shows over the years? And I'm sure you've had
we've
plenty.
had, I mean, with the fire thing, we've had a lot of those, you know. I remember once in his hometown, standing there, and we pull up to go to the show. And as we're going in, there's all people saying to me, you can get autographs and sign it all. I'm standing in, and I saw people all running out with equipment and stuff, you know. Then I feel a hand on the back of my shoulder pulling me, you know. It was just, that was to do with when we were doing Highway to Hell with Bond before Brian. And it was just from that, a lot of the songs on it, like Highway to Hell, Shot Down in Flames. You know. Whenever we seem to have these songs on there, you know, the arsonists seem to come out, you know.
In fact, speaking of that, in the past, critics have associated, rightly or wrongly, heavy metal music with violence. Do you think in that way that heavy metal...
We never promote that.
Do you think heavy metal is receiving a bad rap?
Want to fight?
No.
I think it's just...
Psychology.
yeah, I think...
People that don't understand. It's really good fun. You see those kids, they're all smiling.
Yeah.
You know.
Too many psychologists writing reviews these days.
Yeah, it's just fun. I mean, you go out there. There's basically, I mean, you're going to get an incident anyhow at any show with that many people. It's pretty hard to keep it down. But it's always been, with us, it's been pretty good. You know, I haven't seen as much on this tour as what I've seen on a lot of tours. You know, when I first used to come, I used to see people getting carried out in blood and all sorts of stuff. You know?
Do you think the audience are the audiences in America a little more demonstrative than, say, the audiences in Britain or in Australia?
I think they all react. It depends who they are. We seem to have this following of people all over the world. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, when you play to them, they all seem to respond the same way. Get off!
Has anyone ever measured the decibel level which you play?
Yeah, a lot of deaf people.
Yeah.
No, has anyone ever really seriously ever measured the decibel level of your music?
Yeah, they come with meters and everything. But I mean, they say, oh, this is harmful to this and that. But I mean, we stand there up there all night. I mean, I'm constantly, I mean, you see me, I'm running up and down. That's to get away from it.
It hasn't affected your hearing at all over the years?
What?
I asked that once because, seriously, I had the pleasure, I never thought about it, but I had the pleasure many a year ago of standing in front of Jimmy Page's amp when he was going into communication breakdown. And I thought I was going to die. I don't know how, I mean, you know, where you start to shake. And I was wondering, how do you do that night after night without it? Because Pete Townsend seriously has suffered some hearing loss and seriously wonders about whether or not the kids should sit directly in front of the speakers, you know, when he's playing to them? Because he's made some statements in that way.
It really is no. I think no, because I've stood there. I mean, I've had my head inside the things, you know. And it's not really the volume, it's the frequencies, you know. And if it's too toppy and that, of course it's going to hurt your ears. If it's too deep, maybe so. But it's usually the top end of it, you know. And if you can keep that down, you know, usually that's within. We've got a lot of stuff on there, but it's mainly for the spread. It's not mainly for the sheer volume. You know. Yes. I mean, a lot of people go.
And in the major arenas too, which of course is something I think that's come about in the last 5 or 6 years, putting those speakers up above the stage.
Yeah. That's so you can deafen the top row.
Listen,
you just can't leave the bottom ones to fend for themselves. I've got to give it to the top ones too.
Brian, Flick of the Switch is your 3rd album now with ACDC. How do you feel as lead singer at this point?
Singer again.
Lead shouter. How do you feel as lead shouter at this point?
No, I'm still enjoying it, mate, you know. It's as much as ever, you know. A little bit more relaxed now, and I'm enjoying it more and more as the time goes on, you know. Just, you know, hope it keeps going.
When did you join ACDC? You know?
I joined in 1980, about March 1980.
What were the circumstances concerning your joining?
I just got a telephone call, you know, up home, somebody to do with a band. I'm not sure who it was.
It wasn't me.
Well, it wasn't any of the band. Yeah. They just asked us to, you know, if I was interested to come down and try an audition, you know, and I thought somebody was fooling us at first, but I found out it was genuine. I went down and I had to sing, and it just happened real quick, you know. It was like a blur after that.
Who were you playing with prior to that?
I was just playing with a local band, you know, just a local band up in Newcastle, and we just used to play the clubs and singing. Singing in the clubs.
Bit of an opera star.
But you had to be fairly good up there, otherwise you dodged the bottles a little bit like the Blues Brothers, you know, chicken wire and all that.
Yeah, I threw one night and nearly got him.
Had you heard about him? Obviously you'd heard about him.
We did. Different people had suggested him. Mutt Lang had heard about him, and Bon had recommended him. Many years ago, Bon had toured in a band through England, and it had opened for the band Brian was in, this band called Geordie. And it was one of the few people Bon said this guy was a good singer. Though he did say that the guy had appendicitis that night and he was rolling around the floor and everything. You know?
Is that true?
Yeah, Bon thought it was part of your act.
It was.
Was that really true?
I went to hospital.
Really?
Bon thought it was great. Here's this guy rolling around the floor and you go, wow, get it on.
Tell us about that, Brian.
It was a real gorgeous place called Hull in England. That's a fishing
seaside
town.
Resort.
Seaside resort. And I don't know, we were just doing a set, and I just had a pain like you wouldn't believe, and I just went down. I couldn't stand up anymore, you know. And
you couldn't sing.
Acute appendicitis or something. So they whacked us off in the hospital or something.
Brian thought it was part of the act.
He did. But he thought Brian. He thought Brian had a good voice.
So obviously you knew Bon prior to joining ACDC.
No, well, I didn't really know him at the time, you know, because this band was from Australia, and I always remembered the big bus they had. I had this huge bus, and we always used to help them push it to start it. It was a big bus and all, you know. And
you snob.
I just remembered them, you know, they were always cold, and he had different hairstyle, and it was a different type band. So I only met him like once, so I really couldn't remember it, you know.
Were you a fan of their music?
Well, I never saw them, you know. I was arrived when they had just sort of started.
I never heard any of their records.
Who?
ACDC.
Oh, yes, ACDC.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, were you a
sorry,
fan
I
of
thought you were
these?
talking about Bonds, man.
No.
I beg your pardon. Oh, yeah, I'd heard of ACDC. We did a couple of the band's tracks in our own set, you know.
Did you? Which ones?
Yeah. We did Rosie and, I forgot the other one now.
I think you done Hell, wasn't it?
I think so, aye. Highway to Hell and Rosie.
Wow.
I think, aye. But I didn't realise how big they were in the rest of the world, you know. I knew they were a name band in England, but...
Okay. Angus, after Bond's death, were you guys thinking about breaking up at that time?
Well, the hardest thing for us at first is it's a tragic thing, you know. So we didn't know what we would do if we would continue or what. So we just left everything until after Bond's funeral and everything. And then we decided, my brother said, well, we can sit around and mope, or we had been working on tracks for the Back in Black album. And he said we could get in and just do what we're doing. And then from there decide what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was your relationship with Bond rather strong?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we saw more of him than his family even. You know?
Because it's been said that you guys kind of looked upon him like a brother-like figure or father-like figure. Is that true?
Yeah, well, I mean, we used to always get into a lot of mischief together.
Because he was older than you guys were.
Oh, yeah, he knew all the tricks. He knew how to get into the telephones without paying and things. You know?
Was he about 10 years older than you guys?
Yeah, he was. But he had a way of it. He fought like us. He was always the same, you know. He was always doing things with us, you know. And it was more like, as I said, he knew all the little things we could get away with, you know. He knew which policeman to hit and where to run and where to hide.
Did you find it rather ironic that probably, I would say, the Back in Black album, certainly in this country, put you right over the top?
Well, it did at that time, yeah. But I think for Bond, the Highway to Hell, that set the pace for here. But for the rest of the world, he was already an established thing. And the Back in Black thing, it took it over there.
Mm-hmm. You know, before Brian joined the band, ACDC was pure Australian. And Brian became the first Welshman. You don't want to be called an Englishman, do you, Ryan?
I'm not Welsh.
You're not Welsh?
Welsh.
Isn't it Newcastle in Wales?
No, it's right on the border of Scotland. Right on the border. So we're doing class ourselves as English.
They're more like...
And we're doing class ourselves as Scottish. We're just like
they're more like Scotsmen.
Classify yourself as what?
Well, like
Scotsmen
the Palestinians of England.
Palestinians.
Nobody wants one.
How were you accepted in the band when you joined? As far as, I mean, do you have to take a lot of ribbings because you're not Australian?
You had to put up a lot of money.
Well, I needed an interpreter for the first couple of days. No, it was great. I sound a lot more Scottish, I think. Although the Americans think I'm Welsh, I don't know why. But I sound a lot more Scottish.
Probably because you're Welsh on your bets.
Yeah, Welsh on my bets.
Did you find it difficult coming into an established band like that?
Oh, yeah, well, you know, obviously it's... but the lads in the band were so, like, it was that comfortable. You know, you felt like you were just with regular lads straight away, you know. Oh, let's go out to the pub, let's have a meal. And, you know, they made you feel at home. You know, they all take you out and have a meal and all that, so...
Can you recall your first night on stage?
Oh, I kinda. I'll never forget it. It was in Holland or Belgium somewhere.
There was a lot of manure around these socks.
I was getting very, very worried. And I remember that I sang Shut Down in Flames second, and then we did another song, third, and I sang Shut Down in Flames to the third song. I was that worried, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know where the hell I was. You know, I'd never played with so much equipment as well to start with. I mean, it just... But once we got into it, it was good fun.
So about halfway through that...
It seemed to flash by in about 5 minutes, you know, it just...
Kids were really good with it too.
They were
all
great.
big banners and everything.
You know,
But you were probably more worried about your peer group. Were you probably more worried about what the band thought about
Oh, definitely.
Well, he knows what I think of him.
On that night, though, Angus, were you concerned as well?
Yeah, until the moment we walked on, you know. Because I always remember the roar. I think everyone, they came from everywhere for those shows, you know.
Yeah.
And they came from all over Europe. And when we come on, and when he come on, they had all big banners for, you know, Brian, good luck and everything.
Yeah, it was great. Long, you know.
Yeah.
It was
it was good. It was just an atmosphere, you know. I think people were glad that you'd carried on.
I think that was the main thing.
I know me bank manager was.
Now let's talk a little bit about ACDC on stage, because all of you guys, and especially Angus, doesn't he? You put out an incredible amount of energy. How do you psych yourself up for a show? Because I mean, you're so laid back as we're talking right now.
This is it.
You know, you're just kind of laying back, and then you see him on stage, and
Well, they carry me to and fro, you know. I make sure I don't waste it, you know.
I mean, but I have never in my life. I mean, one of the things I always say when I'm on MTV and talking about your shows, we give the tour dates, is you have to see this man. I have never seen anybody play so well, any guitar player, and put out so much energy. 2 solid hours you'll go out there and just play your tush off.
That check handy.
Thanks a lot, you guys. But do you have to psych yourself up before you go on stage?
I'm pretty lucky, you know. I can walk on and instantly become this devil, you know, little devil person. And it's good for, you know, it's like, I think everyone likes to be able to, you know, if they dress up for a night and go loony. I mean, I get to do it every night.
No, but what condition are you in when the show is over? Because you put out so much energy.
I've got a lot of bumps. I'm trying to work out. I've got a new hip at the moment. It's sort of coming out here. But I'm in pretty. I'm not great physically. You know, I'm pretty thin and that. Send more money. I need more food.
Before you go into it, do you actually like work out for it? Because honestly,
No. Once I tried it, I said, oh, maybe I'll try running for a week or so, see what happens, you know. And I threw it away. I thought, nah, it's interfering with me cigarette smoking, so leave it out. You know? And I always find whenever I'm there, it's just the freshness of it all. That's what it is. It's the energy, the music. To me, it's like all over and done with in 5 minutes. You know?
Really?
When I look at him, maybe 10.
You're not exhausted afterwards?
Yeah, you get a bit exhausted, yeah. I mean, you lose a lot, you know.
No, I was saying now it's making this change over to you, Brian, the same thing. It's like you've got a rather unique vocal style, and when you're kind of screaming at the top of your lungs. How do you do that night after night without blowing your voice?
The thing that keeps attacking his backside.
That's just the music drives you for a start, because if you cannot keep up with that, you're gonna look like a lost sheep there. So you know, you just keep up with the music, you know, and you enjoy it. Because I always think, like, a voice is just like another instrument, you know. It's not a.
But do you do something for your voice? Because in other words, if I go to a football game, and I use my voice, obviously I'm not singing, but I use my voice in my living. But if I go to a football game and cheer too loud, the next day I may have laryngitis. Now I know if I ever tried to do what you do, I wouldn't speak for a week.
Well, I don't know, you know, it's not as much a mystery as people think. It's the same as anything, you know. If I go to a rehearsal and I've had a layoff for a few months or something, or a couple of months, and I start rehearsal, after the first day I'm hoarse. But the second day I keep doing it even though I'm hoarse, and it's just like anything else. Your muscles build up in your throat and everything, and that's all it is. There's no great mystery to it. You know, you just keep on trying it, and then in your throat gets strong, and then you can just continue through, you know.
Do you have any special spray or anything?
Frog legs.
We had a rumor that you gargle with beer. Is that true?
Oh,
Sandpaper, more like it.
You actually gargle with beer?
Got beer, Jack Daniels, or yeah.
Gargle with Jack Daniels?
For you. It is. It's got all that natural hops and goodness and all the stuff.
Gives you plenty of hope.
Angus, early on in ACDC's career, you guys were being labeled as rock and roll's bad boys. What were you guys doing at that time
Being bad.
to deserve that reputation?
I just think a lot of it's mainly from when we were on the road, a lot of things. But it always seemed to happen, the incidents, we seem to attract it, you know. It's a bit like, you know, you see 5 guys in 5 dwarfs, you know, walk in. It can either bring the class of a place up, which I say it does, but a lot of people say it brings it down.
Worrying about this word riff-raff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Terrible.
A lot of class, but all of it's low, right?
And that's what it is. A lot of people, when we were touring and things and those, anywhere we went, I mean, we always, there's some days something happens, you know. It's unavoidable, you know. You can't run away with it.
But was that an image you portrayed off stage as well?
No, I mean, we never looked for trouble. I mean, it was always so easy to find. You know?
That's it. You can go.
Now, Brian, you said in a recent interview, and I'll quote, it says, ACDC is on the road to make a living, not pick up social diseases. We're more concerned with being a rock and roll band than living a rock and roll lifestyle.
I must say that.
And do you practice what you preach?
No, I must say that.
We embarrassed him, I think. That was a quote.
Aye.
Was
Who
this
from? The doctor.
All right,
Yeah.
Chief, I'm going to evade that one, all right?
Social diseases, what's that?
Angus, you and your brother Malcolm are just two of a musical young family. And what's the rest of the clan like? Are they into music as well?
Well, they're all dwarfs, yeah. They're all, they can all do bits and pieces, you know. My old man claims he's a tap dancer. Yeah. But they can all play guitars and drums and whatever.
Mom and Dad included?
No, they're the only ones. They don't do anything. You know.
Well, where did the influence come in?
I think the milkman might have played a big part. I just seemed to grow, you know, from one picked up and then the rest all sort of followed. I mean, we're all envious of each other. We all used to, I mean, I used to watch Malcolm, you know, and then steal his things, and then he'd come in and look at mine and steal his.
You know, your brother, George, was in the Easy Beats.
Yeah.
Right, which I guess at that time in Australia was the equivalent to the Beatles. I mean, they were big band.
They were. Yeah.
What was it like having a superstar as a brother when you were coming up like that?
Well, a lot of it was kept back from us, you know, to keep you away. Because in those days, it was, I mean, you weren't allowed, you know, like people with long hair were getting chucked out of schools and things like this. So a lot of it was kept away from us. And the people that looked after him in that were good with that, you know. They made sure that it didn't affect any of your families or anything.
Now,
But it was hectic for him, not for us, you know, because we were all led to do our normal, useful selves, or useless selves.
How old were you when that was happening?
I was really young. I was around 6, 7.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you playing instruments or starting to play instruments at that
Oh,
time?
I could, what do you say? Tinkle a bit, you know. I still do it now.
Now, one of the things that always amazed me about your playing, too, because I don't think it's really, when I think of Australian rock and roll bands, you don't hear very much of it. Your guitar licks are really blues-based, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, blues, yeah, a lot of it.
I mean, because an awful lot of music that goes under the genre of heavy metal, the guitar licks are something else, Wagnerian maybe, but not necessarily blues-based, and yet that's where you're coming from. Who did you listen to? Who inspired you when you first picked up the guitar?
A lot of the old stuff, you know, Muddy Waters and things like this. See, these were records, you never hear them on the radio or nothing, but they were there and they were freely available in shops and stuff, you know. And the B.B. Kings, all of these people.
Any contemporary people like maybe Clapton or Beck or Page?
Yeah, a lot of for actual bands like the Yardbirds and that, you know, heard them. Because the radio was always on in the house and that, and you always heard stuff. You know. Even Little Richard and stuff. Love all that piano playing.
So actually, Mom and Dad were really rather open-minded when you were kids.
Well, I mean, there's that generation that each one of them's got their own little favourites, and they all wanted to hear what was what. There was always a big fight for that record player. See who got there first.
What do your parents think of heavy metal?
I don't know. Well, I know my mother sort of wondering still where I am. She told me to be home at 12, 6 years ago, and I still haven't made it.
I mean, because your brother George played in a more of a pop direction.
Yeah.
And what inspired you and Malcolm to go more or less into a heavier form
I
of
think,
music?
well, he helped us a lot in the beginning, in the early days. You know, producing, and him and Harry Vander. And with us, we were their big hobby. You know, because we could get out there and play and that, and they looked at it as that. It was their hobby because they had to make all the pop stuff at that time, and they were so used to working under that environment with record companies, this and that, and dealing with all of this, that when it come to us, it was fun for them again. It was, here's a rock and roll band. Let's make it sound like a rock and roll. It frightened a lot of people, you know. Because he was these two guys who were famous pop producers working with something like us. And it was just something he always wanted to do. you know, and it was a good hobby for him and that.
Now, your present tour has just started, and you have obviously a few more months to go before it comes to a conclusion. And when you're off on your own, you know, what do you guys like to do? Oh, what a question. Here it goes.
Well, we start, we rape, pillage, rob banks. You know. There's for us, I mean, I immediately run away from him.
I prize my backside off a motorbike on a few months, one arm away. That's what I enjoy, bikes and all that.
No. ACDC, Simon, being the newest member of the band, how did you get the job as the new drummer? How did that come about?
I was just reading a music paper in London, and I just saw an advert. Yeah, I can, yeah, as well. Yeah, and I was just reading the paper, and there was an advert, and I just answered the advert, because the band I was in at the time was having a bit of trouble with the recording contract, so...
What band was that, Simon?
There's a band called Titan, a London band. I just answered the advert and went along, and it was them.
Was that surprised? You didn't know it was ACDC when you saw the ad?
No, I didn't say it, just...
Were you surprised at that when you got to the studio?
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
We put an ad in, you know, 1 5'2" drummer, rock drummer, you know, must have own shoes.
And tell me this as well, Simon. Did you know that day? When did you find out you...
Yeah, I found out that day they did a first audition, which was just with the kit, and then you got to play with the band a bit later. You know.
So that night, what did you do? What was your first reaction? I mean, when a break like that comes...
I went out and got a drink. Well, not big.
What was your background before Titan?
I was in a band from my hometown, Manchester, called A to Z, or A to Z.
No, I know. We know A to Z. And we know Manchester United too. He's a very good footballer.
With the shaking sword, he's Zorro.
The audience should know that he comes from Manchester, and you follow Manchester United's football team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so rowdiest fans in all of Britain, right? So he's a natural for the band.
He is.
Yeah. Now Phil Rudd had been with the band, Angus, since the beginning. Why did he leave?
Basically, I think for touring and that, he was a bit tired, you know, and it was getting him down, and he just had a little boy, baby boy. That's a difficult thing to do if you're a man, and he just decided that it was time that he'd been doing it, like this would be coming close to his 9th year, and he thought he'd been doing it a bit long.
What's he up to now?
I think he's on a yacht.
Doing good, isn't he?
He is.
Now, Simon, you're the youngest member of ACDC. Does age make a difference with these guys?
I don't know. Does it?
I'm only 17.
And they treated you any differently?
Oh, no.
We just show him which clubs to go to. Which
Yeah.
ones not.
Now, when those things kind of happen, especially like I said, you're walking, again, you know, as I'm sure Brian knows, you're walking into an established band. And now, do you find your friends starting to treat you a bit differently now?
Yeah, a bit, yeah. But, I mean, they're still friends, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't changed at all.
No, I know you haven't, but are you finding it a little difficult to handle some of that?
No, nobody seems to have changed or anything, you know. It's great.
They just send him begging letters.
Yeah.
Because Angus, you started out when you were really quite young with ACDC.
I was, yeah.
How old were you at that time?
About, I think I was just nearly gone 16.
16. Is that right?
I'm only 17 now, so it just shows you what a span this man can do.
Now, when you started, did they treat you like a kid, like the young kid, or did they treat you like just one of the guys?
I think a lot of people did when they first saw me, you know. And then when they saw what a racket I could make up there, they sort of went, whoa. What do we do with this guy, you know?
Your schoolboy outfit evolved when you started out with ACDC, and you're still using it as a kind of a trademark. Is that right today?
Yeah, well, it's a good thing. I mean, you should feel that velvet against your thighs. It does wonders.
Well, what are you gonna now? You can't wear that like say 10 years from now, or can you? And will you be up there and an old geezer up there?
Well, with a crutch and things. No, I hope not. Hopefully, then I might have my island. But yeah, I do it as long as I don't look silly. But he keeps saying that all the time. You know? But he's a known liar. Whenever he says.
The new album marks some changes for ACDC. You've produced it yourself. Now you got a new member in the band. And with that in mind, what will the next album be like?
Well, with the next one, it will be even just as more shocking as this one. Well, we always writing stuff on the road and everything. So hopefully we can get in and do this one, because we left it for a while, you know, because we did. At one point we Black and Black, and then they re-released Dirty Deeds here, and then we had For Those About the Rock. We had a lot of albums in one year, you know. So now we got we had a bit of a break between this one, but this one we should get in and do pretty quick.
You writing stuff now for the next album?
Yeah, we'll get ideas from the road and everything.
Now, when you do that, like, so when this tour is over,
Yeah.
if I'm reading you correctly, then Brian, you go back home, right?
Yeah, just going to pop back for Christmas or something, but we'll probably
We'll be
back
again.
again.
The new year we'll be all together again and working on who we're going to brighten, what country.
See, we're going to invade next.
Yeah.
Does this require you to actually have a place in Australia as well, Brian?
No, most of the lads don't live in Australia, you know, spread right around the world.
Really?
You know?
So you're not really living there anymore?
Oh, you live anywhere they let us.
No, I was seriously saying, you don't live there anymore now?
Well, I go. I mean, my folks are there. My parents. I go and see them every now and
But
then.
your particular residence is where?
Particular? No, I live anywhere. Anywhere they'll have me.
The vagabonds of the road. You know, did you like the Bahamas so much that you thought about buying any property there?
The Bahamas? Well, there's one place. They were always happy to see the back of me. You know?
But friendly with the custom guys, yeah.
But nah, I just spend a bit of time if we're doing a lot of work out of Britain and that, or Europe, go and rent a place for a few months there. You know, if I come here, here we're on the road all the time. You know. So you just, I try to plan it as much as I can, where I can go.
Well, in conclusion, for this new tour, because it's just starting, can you tell us about any new things on the road that you're going to have on this particular stage show?
Well, there's him. That's enough.
And Simon's going, I'm new. Watch me. Okay.
He got new socks.
Time as well. He's been saving up for us.
We had to have a hit squad. He's been moaning about these jeans that got knocked off the other night.
Yeah.
We had to get a hit squad and hire them to steal them. You know?
Favorite jeans. I'm sure it was an inside job. They went missing. I've had them for about 4 years, you know.
And someone stole them from you.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was these guys that have been telling me to get rid of them for ages. But,
You wouldn't wash them,
I'm still investigating.
I say
Spoils the feel.
Well, we can still expect to see the Cannons in this year's show.
Yeah, well,
All
that's for the
21
audience.
for
I mean, if we got to use something like that. If they don't clap, we let them have it.
Well, thank you, Simon. Thank you, and good luck on this tour.
Thanks.
I know the next time we see him, he's being very nice and mellow this time. Next time we see him, he's going to be a very rowdy person. And Angus, thank you so much as well.
Pleasure.
And continued luck to you, Brian.
Thanks
Thank you
very
so
much, man.
Merry dingleberries.